Welcome to the Spiggle Law Firm podcast. I'm Tom Spiggle, founder of the Spiggle Law Firm. We help people who've been fired or afraid they might be in Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Today, I want to talk to you about the book that I released just recently, Fired or Afraid That You Might Be. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about why I wrote the book and how I would recommend that you use it. But before we get into that, a little bit of legalese. This is not intended to be legal advice for you, the listener, but only for educational purposes, nor does it create an attorney-client relationship with our firm. If you want either of those things and you got it, you should go hire a lawyer. So this is my second book, Fired, Afraid You Might Be. The first book I wrote back in 2015 called Pregnant, You're Fired. So let's start with where you can find it. You can get this book on our website, spigglelaw.com. You can also get it on Amazon. You can get the hard copy like I just held up, or you can get an electronic Kindle version for, I believe, $1. So why did I write the book and how might you use it? And let me say, this is going to be a series in the podcast where I give kind of a high-level overview of the sections of the book. Of course, I'm not going to dive in deep because that's what the book is for. But why did I write it? So, with employment law, it can be difficult sometimes to see your way forward. It's true in any legal situation, but particularly in employment law, because let's look at other areas. If you have been arrested, maybe you've been, held by the police, do you need a criminal defense lawyer? Absolutely. If you want a divorce and your spouse is not willing to do it amicably, do you need a lawyer? Absolutely. You need a will drawn up, then you need to go to a lawyer. In employment situations, it's a little more vague because you can be having problems at work. They can be very impactful to you. I mean, they can be just as stressful as having a divorce that is like a professional divorce. But it can be unclear whether or not you have a matter that is a legal matter that you need a lawyer for. So that's one of the reasons that I wrote the book, is that I want people to, whether they hire a lawyer or not, whether they file a claim against their employer or not, I want them to know that they have answers, they have options. We had somebody in our office not long ago, a gentleman who was in a sales position, and he was in his mid-50s. He had been fired from his job. He'd been at this place in tech sales for over 10 years. And he was unclear to him whether or not he had a way forward, whether or not he had a case worth pursuing. So he came into our office. He actually paid for an hour of one of our attorney's time, met with the attorney, went through his case in detail. And at the end of it, he said, and I see this is not uncommon. He said he felt so much better just knowing that he had options, just knowing that there were steps that he could take, put him back it felt to him like it put him back in the driver's seat of his own career. Again, whether or not he ends up hiring us or sending a demand letter to his employer, or, leaving it and just going on and finding another job, which is also a completely rational decision to make. But it should be his decision based on what he understands his options are. And in employment law and people facing problems at work, we see this all the time. It can be overwhelming. And it just add insult to injury in the sense that you've got this situation at work. Maybe you've been fired, or maybe you are being harassed, and you also you're in the woods. You don't know how to move forward. On that note, one of the reasons also that I wrote the book is I wanted people facing the situation to understand what the process is for hiring an attorney and whether or not you want to do that. The book is really designed to use the same tools that attorneys use to evaluate your case and decide whether or not it's worth moving forward, but also to give you a sense of what the process is like working with a lawyer. Because for lawyers, it's a little bit different than doctors, right? Doctors, we've all been to the doctor, probably dozens of times throughout your lifetime, depending on how old you are. And we all sort of know the script, right? You go in, you go to the front, you talk to the receptionist, they take your information, you sit down, a nurse comes out and gets you, takes you back, so forth and so on. I mean, you can fill in the steps yourself because you've done it so many times. With a lawyer, it's not quite so complicated, but people are not as familiar. I had a couple the other day who I know, a professional couple, well educated. They had a legal issue that was not something I could help with, and so I was giving them suggestions for other attorneys to call. And their question to me is like, what should I say? Because they just didn't know. They had never worked with an attorney in this capacity before, and they could certainly look on Google and find people and get the phone number, but they didn't know what the steps were. So I want folks to know, and it varies slightly from firm to firm. The processes can be slightly different, but I wanted people to know, particularly with our firm, how we do it. Because let me show you our nifty chart here, which is kind of a summary. I'm not going to go through it all, but that is a summary, a kind of a visual description of the path that you would take if you were working with our firm and how we would evaluate your case. And this is in the beginning of the book that you can find. So I wanted people to understand, hey, if you need to pick up the phone and call an attorney, here's what the process looks like if you're dealing with employment law. And then finally, I wanted people who have, either deciding to proceed on their own by submitting a demand letter, and if you need to go to the EEOC. And if you're unfamiliar with these terms, they're all explained in the book. That if you decide to go that route on your own, you have the tools to do it. Is it better to have an attorney? Absolutely. But can you do these sorts of things on your own? Do a DIY process? Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. It's because I wanted people to have that roadmap. We also have a video program called Legal Leverage, which walks you through how to do that. You can contact our firm if you are interested in that. It's different modules that closely follow what the book says, that can kind of guide you through your own process for handling this yourself. And then finally, I wrote it for people who they've hired an attorney, they're in the process of hiring an attorney, or maybe they're a little bit, they've already hired an attorney and they are in the litigation process or moving along that way. Because I want folks to be educated consumers to be able to make important decisions for themselves, because the folks who get into this line of work do it because they want to help people. Most of the people who are out there representing employees do great work. Some of them are better than others of really understanding what you're going through, because it's hard as you handle these cases a lot. This is true for any kind of professional, to then kind of rewind the tape and remember what it's like to look at this problem with fresh eyes. Again, back to the couple that I knew who were wondering, what do I say when I call an attorney? A lot of times attorneys lose sight of that. And that's true when they're taking you through the process, is they may not know what you don't know. They may make assumptions about what you know. Again, not for improper purposes, but because, hey, they're once they see the problem, they're off to the races and they're doing their attorney thing, which is absolutely right. But sometimes all of us as attorneys can use a moment to step back and think about, how is my client perceiving this? Because even if the attorney is doing the best job that he or she can in advising you, the decisions are ultimately yours, and they can be of great import, right? If you're going to pursue an action against your employer, it doesn't always involve going to court. But if you do that, we're talking months and months, if not years of time, and sometimes tens of thousands, in some cases, 6 figures worth of investment to bring your case. And you need to be thinking, what's my goal here? What am I trying to get out of this? Because again, the attorney, give a person a hammer, everything looks like a nail. They want to solve those complicated legal problems. But it's important to step back and to say, to what end? What do you as the client want out of this? Is it just you want out of a non-compete? Is it you just want to stand up for yourself, fire a shot across the company's bow? Is it that you want to go all in, being, fully understanding what the ramifications are? Because we see people in our practice, see people in other practices who, the victories are the great ones. They go forward and they get a great result and everybody's happy with that. We also see people who spend a lot of money and a lot of time and either don't get that money back or they just lose outright. And that's unavoidable sometimes. This is a high risk business. There's a lot at stake and there's no guaranteed outcome. So it's entirely possible to invest those sorts of resources and get an unfavorable result, even if your attorney is top notch and doing all the right things. So you need to go into that. You need to be the one to make that decision and make that decision eyes wide open with the help of your attorney. And this book is an assist in that direction to help you think about it, to help you put some of your own pieces together, and to use it to help you talk with your attorney and understand what he or she might be thinking about. One caveat, I mean, this is what I put in the book is one way to approach a case. It's not the one right way to approach a case. Attorneys are going to vary a bit in how they handle matters, and that's okay. Just like doctors are going to vary a little bit in how they handle matters. But this book will at least give you a start in understanding that and giving you a framework. Again, that kind of that roadmap, like, right, where am I going? Where do I want to end up? Where can I expect that there might be curves and bumps in the road? So those are the three reasons that I wrote it. I want people to understand what their options are. I want people to be able to handle the matter on their own, at least in the first instance, if that's what they decide to do. And I want people to be educated, fully informed consumers when they decide to hire an attorney and work with an attorney. So if that is describes you, or you have a family member or a friend who may be going through this and you want to be able to help them, but you're not an attorney or you're not an attorney that practices in these areas, get a copy of the book. Spend the $1 if you're short on cash to get the Amazon copy, the Kindle version. If you are absolutely can't even come up with $1 and you want to copy the book, call our office and we can send you an electronic copy for free, because I want to make sure people have the answers and the perspective that they need to be able to make their own very important decisions, either with or without the help of an attorney. So that's an overview of the book and why I wrote it. In the coming couple of episodes, I'll be talking about the various chapters of the book, again, at a fairly high level, and how I would, if I were somebody going through this, how I would go about using the book and using what's in it. Let me say, if you want more information like this, you can go to our site. We have two sites. There's the careerrocket.io. Give us your email, and every week you'll get the latest and greatest in employment news and how to keep your career on an upward trajectory. We'll also give you the latest and greatest in employment law. You can also go to our website, spigglellaw.com, where we have a lot of free information, and we have links to our various social media channels where we also share a lot of free information that can be helpful. So there you go. Join me next time to look at the first section of the book. In the meantime, be safe out there.